Hello there, everybody. XP Walker here again. I am doing something a little bit different today. Normally, I just give in-game tutorials, but I decided for today I'm going to make a tutorial to teach you how to set up a Conan server, how to put mods on it, how to run the server from the inside, basically do everything from absolute start to absolute finish. One thing I hate in tutorial videos is how they talk nonstop before they even get to the actual tutorial, so I'm going to cut it off right there and we're going to go straight to the actual tutorial. Okay, so for starters, I go to gportal.com for Conan servers. It's the best one. I actually generally prefer these guys anyway. They're pretty cool. Their help staff is pretty friendly and very active and very responsive. So, you know, there is no perfect hosting solution, but this one is definitely up there with one of the betters. As you can see, I already have a V Rising server. If any of you play V Rising, you're welcome to check that server out. It's pretty popular. It's quite awesome. Anyway, so on to this. We're going to go to rent a server. Again, I am logged into a user ID. If you're not, if you don't have a gportal account, you'll be on their main landing page, but you'll see something similar to rent a server. You're going to click on that, and then I'm going to choose my game. It's none of these, so I'm just going to go down here. I can either sort it by popular, blah, 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 blah. In this case, I'll just go alphabetical. I know it's called Conan Exiles. We've got Conan Exiles with Isle of Sipta. This is PC version. Conan Exiles PS4 and PS5 version. And the Conan Exiles Xbox version. For this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to do the PC version because we are the master race. But the PS4, PS3, or PS4, PS5, and Xbox is not that different. So, you know, watch it if you'd like. Okay, order now. Gonna go ahead and we'll keep it cheap. We're gonna go 10 slots. Now, if this is just for you and a couple friends, stick with a 10 slot server. If you want to try and sort of grow your clan or guild or gaming community or whatever you run, 40 slots is usually your best bet, because then you've got a lot of breathing room. New players see that 40 slots and they think, oh sweet, I'm always going to be able to get in the server because it's not going to be full. So for now, we're going to go for 10 slots. I'm located in Las Vegas, so I'm going to want to do something on the West Coast. In my case, LA is a 10 millisecond because there's a fiber pipeline straight from Vegas to LA. If you're not sure which one is best for you, just try to bring up this list. It'll tell you what your ping is to each of these. Go for the lowest one. If you're looking to try and appeal to everyone in the USA, for instance, I recommend Dallas. This is pretty center of the country, more or less. If you're in another country, obviously that will be your solution down there. Okay, so we're gonna go for LA. We're gonna hit order now. I'm gonna have to blur out some of the stuff because it'll put in like credit card information. We're gonna stick with 10 slots. We're gonna do 30 days. If you prepay for 3 months or half a year or an entire year, it gets cheaper and cheaper per day, but obviously it will cost you more up front. So that's up to you and your financial situation. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just gonna do a $14 30-day. That could change by the time you're watching this. Prices change as inflation changes, and if you're watching this in, what is today, the 5th? Yeah, June 5th. You know how inflation's pretty awful at the moment. Okay, continue. Okay, saved payment method. Do I want to order? In this case, I already have a credit card saved. If you don't, you're going to click credit card, put in that information, or if you prefer, it'll be PayPal. If you prefer something else, there's PaySafe card, WeChat Pay. They have a lot of really cool stuff. I just use a card because I guess I'm an old man. So we're gonna order that. Cool, I didn't have to blur out the card information or anything. Payments being processed. Okay, so once you've passed that stage, if you're a first-time user to gportal, they're gonna send you an ID. You can see my ID's down here. I'm probably gonna blur that out just to be safe. But my amount of money that I've paid into the servers right here, $14, no big deal. If you're a new customer, go ahead and activate your account. You'll find your way back to this page, and then you're going to hit activate now. By the way, if you want to skip having to do all those steps, I recommend you make an account before you buy any servers or anything so that you're following me along right as I'm doing this here. Okay, so we're going to activate now. Thank you for your order. Go to game server configuration, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, so here we are. We are on the landing page for our Conan Exiles server. It's simple as that. I've already set it up. They've set it up. I didn't do anything. And we're good to go. So now we have to actually start configuring our server. Okay, so right now it's called Conan Exiles US West server by gportal.com. That's their generic name. So I'm gonna go to settings, and I am going to begin to change that. Now, I'm not going to explain every single setting here. It's very extensive, but I will explain some of the bigger ones. First of all is branch selection. You can either choose Conan Exiles, whatever the most recent stable patch is, or the test patches, which they push out more frequently, but most of the mods don't work with the test patches. So you're better off doing Conan Exiles unless you specifically plan to run a test patch server for whatever reason. Okay, so we're going to change the name of our server. I'm going to call it gorgonites.com because that's my website. Gorgonites.com. We'll go 18 plus because I'm sure I'll have mods in there that have nudity. I mean, it's Conan. It's kind of an 18 plus game anyway. 18 plus, level 300. I'll explain all this stuff later. Level 300, what else should I put there? AOC slash, I don't know if slashes actually work in the name, EEWA. Okay, these are all mods. These are some of the more popular mods right here, and I will explain those. And then we'll put fast XP, because I'm not sure what the rate will be. Okay, and I'll explain all this as we go. All right, so it's a 10 slot. Do not change this. It will break your server because they're only allowing you so many slots. Just stick with what's on there. You have 2 maps and then 2 modded maps. So Exiled Lands is your default one where it's got the different biomes. It's got desert, highlands, frozen area, tundra. It's got the volcano area, jungle, all that stuff. This is the generic map. And then Isle of Sipta is the more recent map. However, it does require DLC. So if you're trying to get as many people as possible on your server, you probably want to go with the Exiled Lands, which we're going to do in this case. It says, I love both maps, but Exiled Lands I find is a little bit more fleshed out, obviously because it's been around longer. Server default map. This is only for mods. If you're using a modded map that isn't on this list, like Savage Wilds is on the list, but there's others, then you would put the name in here. We're going to skip that for now. We're just going to go with a default map. Save game. Select which save game the server has to start. We're just going to keep that as is. Put in a password if you want to make it private. In this case, I do not. Admin password for your server. I am going to go ahead and put that in, but you're not going to see it. There we go. Archon enables just the remote console. Archon password, we're going to change that to something else as well. Aha, you can't see that either. Sucks to be you. Okay, enable login queue if the server's full. Sure, don't change that. I doubt your server's going to be full. The game's been out for a while, so you don't really see too many full servers that aren't the generic public ones. Disconnection grace time. This is the time before they're pulled out for being unable to connect. We're going to make ours a PvE server, so I'm going to keep PvP Blitz off. Max nudity. Generally keep it on full unless you're running a family-friendly server and you don't want kids on, or you want kids on there. Battle Eye is their security. Keep that on. Server community all. Now you can change this to purist, relax, hardcore, whatever, if you want to specifically appeal to a certain community. If you're just trying to get as many people as possible, just stick with all. Server region, you want to put that as America if you're in America. If you're renting a server in Europe, obviously keep it Europe. Tick rate 30, do not change these. If you I believe it's the higher the number, the harder it is on the server and the more lagged it's going to be. So just keep it at 30. Keep the culture at English unless you're speaking Chinese, in which case, why are you listening to this tutorial? Message of the day, it's German by default, so I'll put visit gorgonites.com for the Discord link. We are a friendly and active community, or you can put whatever you want to put for yours. Okay, maximum allowed ping. I would recommend keep this at 0, because if you say like a ping of 150 and someone's playing and they just happen to have a small spike, it kicks them right off the server, so it's kind of messed up. You could set this to like 500 so that people from like China or Africa or something like that, you don't want people like from there on your server because they lag it down or something, you could, but I generally just keep it at 0. Whitelist is, again, if you want only specific people with IDs there. Generally, you're not going to use that. Otherwise, you're going to have to put each of their Steam IDs in here. It's a Steam 64, so it's a big number. Family shared account, if you want to allow people to join on a family shared account on Steam, so their main account, and then maybe their kid logs onto their computer and also plays, I would highly recommend you keep that turned on. That's also an anti-hacker feature that they turned off. Broadcast messages, we don't have to really put those in here. We're going to use a mod for that, so let's just keep that off. Server transfer doesn't really need to be on. This doesn't need to be on. Everyone can cheat. Please do not turn that on unless you plan to make it a creative server where people can just create nonstop. This game is a survival game, so you don't see too many creative servers. Logout characters remain in the world. I personally recommend you turn this off for a PvE server and on for a PvP server. That way, there's always the risk of logging out in the middle of nowhere. Someone's going to come and just kill you and just take your stuff. But if it's PvE, you know, why would you want to make it that much more difficult for them? So just turn that off if you're PvE. In this case, we're making a PvE server, by the way. Durability modifier is how quickly things degrade. And most of these are explained. So instead of explaining every one of these that has the explanation here, I'm just going to change the values. Probably when you're watching this video, it's going to fast forward through all this. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention. Most of these settings can be changed in the game, and I usually recommend you change them in the game instead of here in the settings, because the game sliders, we'll show you the sliders in a little bit, but they're going to be a lot easier than these numbers you see here. So for now, we're just more or less going to keep most things default. Drop equipment on death. If you want it to be a little bit more relaxed, you would want to turn that off. No ownership. Sets of land can be claimed. Yeah, I believe you want to keep that off. Yeah, that's right, because if it's on, people can't actually claim land and people can just destroy each other's stuff. You don't want that. Everybody can loot the corpses. Again, if you're playing easy, relaxed PvE mode, you want to turn that off so people can't loot each other's stuff. Again, this, you just kind of leave it as is. Disable chat forming. Yep, okay. Use catch-up time. Just means that if it's nighttime when the player joins the server, they're not going to automatically just be at night. They're going to start in the day, but the day is going to go much faster and catch them up to whatever time the server's on. It gives them a chance to do the intro tutorial during the daytime instead of in the deep dark, which is very hard. Catch-up time, 10 minutes. Okay, so we're not going to change any of this stuff. This is all stuff that can be changed in-game, and it does save when you change the settings in-game. Dogs of the Desert, we're not going to do that. Changes, okay, we're not going to change the cross desert once. That just basically means that the first time they play, they start in the desert, but the next time they log on, they don't go back to the desert. They start sort of in the player playing area. Okay, none of this. Rotation. Okay, none of this is all fine. Avatars disabled. Avatars are giant beings that are connected to your religion. Avatars are used in PvP to destroy enemy bases and stuff. They do tons of damage. We're going to keep them enabled because they're still pretty fun, even if we have this on PvE only. They last 1 minute because they're very powerful. Avatars can be damaged. Chat is global. You can change that to local if you're on a PvP server and you really want to keep it realistic to where people can't just shout across the entire map. We're going to scroll down through all this. None of this needs to change at the moment. Validate. Okay. This is a more recent raycast stuff. I actually don't know what that does. You'll have to figure that out on your own. Okay. This is another very important one for your server's performance. Do you want to allow people from other countries to play on it? Now I'm speaking specifically to North Americans, New Zealanders, Australians, and Europeans. Basically people who speak English primarily as their primary language. In America, I would not want to allow Africans to connect, not because I don't like Africa, but because their ping is going to be abysmal and it's going to drag the server down. I don't want to allow Asia for the same reason. Also, a lot of hackers tend to come from there. Sorry, not sorry. Central Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, North America, Oceania, South America. These are all places that ping up to 150 in America, but not much worse than that, so they can stay. Disable building abandonment. If you don't want buildings to ever decay on your server, so someone leaves on vacation for 2 weeks, you don't want them to come back and their stuff's all destroyed, you would turn this on. I keep it off because I want stuff to decay if someone stops playing. I don't want it sitting there for a month. All this is going to be changed in game. Containers ignore ownership. There's a mod for this, so I probably won't turn this off. I just leave it to default. Clan size. Now, if you have a 50-man or a 40-man server, you probably want a 10-man clan size. That way, the biggest the clan can get is only a quarter the size of the server. If it's PvE, it doesn't matter really, to be honest. So 10 and a 10-person server is just fine. Combat mode, all this stuff. Server voice chat. Now, you can turn this on, but it will lag the server down a bit. So if you're looking for better performance, keep this turned off, especially if you have a Discord. No reason to turn this on. So we're going to keep on moving down. Target lock enabled. Some PvP servers don't have this enabled because you want to be able to, because locking onto a player, I think it's Q or something like that, it makes it easier in PvP. You basically can't miss. So some PvP servers turn this off. Same with enable auto facing. I keep them turned on since I'm making a PvE server. AFK percentage. Okay, we're gonna skip all that. Toggle hungry system thralls. Hungry system. Hunger system for pets. Just keep that on. Unless you really want it easy and you don't want your thralls to ever have to eat, you can turn that off. Again, these are things that are generally going to be modded anyway, so we're not going to bother with that. Exclusive diet. That's kind of a cool feature if you want to go hardcore PvE, hardcore survival rather. Thrall decay, all that. Skipping. I know this is a lot, and feel free to skip forward throughout the video to stuff that's more important to you. I'll try to mark them on the video. Event system, random events happen. These are pretty cool. I leave those on. Enable follower rescue on land came. Okay. If set true, players can rescue followers only on land they own. This is a pretty hardcore option right here. If your follower dies outside of your territory, you can't rescue them. I would just keep that off unless you're really going for hardcore survival. Enable followers rescue and build exclusion zone. That just means that if they die in a POI or like a place where, like a cave that players can't build in, you can still rescue them. Again, if you turn that off, that's hardcore. And we're gonna just scroll. Surge from Storm, that is not relevant on this map, but on Isle of Sipta. We're gonna skip all of that. Restrict avatar summoning time. If you're on a PvP server and you want players to only fight during certain hours, you would set that here. Enable Purge. Now, on PvE servers, unless I'm going for absolute ease, I enable the Purge. I like it. It's pretty cool. Basically, the longer your base is there and the more it's built up, the more likely it is to be, not the more likely, but the closer it gets to being attacked. When the Purge timer is up, your base is attacked by a whole bunch of NPCs. It's a really fun PvE element to the game, and I almost always keep it enabled. It's another good way to clear out players who don't play anymore too, because their base will get purged whether they're online or not, and if they haven't been to their base in weeks, well, it's going to get destroyed. Building, is it allowed during purges? So, like, can players rebuild their walls as they're being attacked? Generally, you want that off. Otherwise, they could just continuously build walls and they'd never be in any danger. Purge level, higher the number, the more difficult it is. Just leave that as default. All this stuff for Purge, again, can be set in game, but I do recommend keeping it turned on unless you specifically don't want conflict with people. Okay, PvP system. Bam! Now it's a PvE server. Literally all this other stuff does not matter. If I want to change that in the future, I can say, hey, Saturday's our PvE day. This is where our PvP day where we all fight each other. But otherwise, it's disabled. Something like that. Up to you, of course. You're going to skip, skip, skip. These are start times for PvP. Restrict PvP building damage time. We'll keep that on because it doesn't matter anyway since PvP's off. Can damage player-owned structures. Again, that's only if PvP is enabled, but just to be safe, we're going to turn that off. Buildings can be damaged as long as the building owner is online. Oh. Okay, storm enabled. Now this is for Isle of Sipta. We're just going to turn that off. Elder things, I think those are also in the Isle of Sipta. And we're going to disable that as well since it doesn't actually matter. And just skip, skip, skip. These are all Isle of Sipta storm related. Storm building allowed. Storm map blocker. Just disable all that to be safe. Although it should automatically not do anything if we're on the Exiled Land server. But just in case. You never know. And now we're going to go ahead and save. So branch selection Conan Exiles. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, save. Again, I'll explain this stuff in a moment. You can see up here, changes to your server have been made. Everything looks good here, IP, all that stuff. And we are good to go. So it's got a new name. If I go to the status, it should show the new name. Gorgonites.com, 18+, level 300 AOC, EWA, fast XP. All right, that is what we want to see. And okay, all right, so we're good there. Now we've got the basic settings of our server. If we want to run it with absolutely no mods, all we have to do is click this little button here. It sets the server online, and within about 5 or 6 minutes, the server will be up, and it will show up in my Conan list of available servers. I just searched for, in my case, Gorgonites. Okay. We are not doing that, however. We're going to add mods. Thank you, everybody, for watching this first part. I am going to make the mod selection part a second video, so I'll see you over there if you need to learn how to add mods, or you just are interested in which mods I use for a stable server. All right, see you there.